I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Job, chapter 3, and let's focus on verses 20 through 26. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter of the soul, who long for death, but it does not come, and search for it more than hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave? Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, and whom God has hedged in? For my sighing comes before I eat, and my groanings pour out like water. For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me, and what I dreaded has happened to me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, for trouble comes. Have you ever wished that you were never born? Have you ever cried out to the Lord that He would take you out of this world because you can't fathom a reason to even be alive? That light and even air is wasted on you? You know, that's a miserable way to feel. And you know, they say misery loves company. And if you feel that way, you're not alone. As a matter of fact, you're in very good company because everybody feels that way sometimes. And it may surprise you to learn that the guy who's teaching you the Bible, that's right, me, I have felt that way. And Job certainly felt that way. Would it surprise you to learn that God knew that you would feel that way? And in fact, He led someone to write this book of Job and to include it in the Bible to help give insight into the redemptive why regarding the suffering of the righteous. Consider the Apostle Paul's words to the church in Rome in Romans 14, verses 8 and 9. For if we live in relation to the Lord. And if we die, well, we die in relation to the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. Indeed, it was for this very reason that the Messiah died and came back to life, so that He might be Lord of both the living and the dead. The reason that we exist in this world and in the next is to glorify the Lord. And yet our culture, a church culture even, has somehow convinced many of us that God exists to serve us. And this mindset has even taken root in that church at large. It's the destructive heresy because it is exactly the opposite of the truth. Even heaven will not be the eternal recess that many people envision. And that's because we never stop belonging to the Lord. Even in heaven, we are His. And our focus will forever be on Him and not on ourselves. His purposes, which are chosen by His great wisdom, are given to us for a reason. And all that we have to do is simply trust. Therefore, it's our obligation to trust the Lord, that even if our circumstances don't resemble our picture of blessing, that God is ultimately working all things together for His good, according to His purposes. And again, consider the words of Paul, who was no stranger to suffering himself just because he was following the Lord. Philippians chapter 1, verses 12 through 14, he says, "Now I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has actually resulted in the advance of the gospel." You're like, oh man, I hope I never suffer like Paul did. Well, hold on. What happened to me happened, and the result was not my suffering. Get your focus off of that. The result was the gospel was advanced. I continue, so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to everyone else that my imprisonment is in the cause of Christ. Most of the brothers in the Lord have gained confidence from my imprisonment and dare even more to speak the message fearlessly. Or what about Philippians chapter 1, verses 20 through 22? My eager expectation and hope is that I will not be ashamed about anything, but that now, as always, with all boldness, Christ will be highly honored in my body, whether by life or by death. For me, living is Christ. That is, it is the anointing. And dying is gain. Now, if I live on in the flesh, this means fruitful work for me. And I don't know which one I should choose. I'm pressured by both. I have the desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better, but to remain in the flesh is more necessary for you. You know, Paul could be encouraged because he knew what Job did not know. Paul knew the end of Job's suffering. Surely Paul had read the book of Job. And through the Bible, we have the great privilege of knowing the end not only of Job's struggles, but also of Paul's. And more importantly, the end of Jesus' suffering, the resurrection. And with this, we should not be discouraged as we read the book of Job and as we endure hardships, even if we stand alone on behalf of Jesus in our generation. Because we do not live for our best lives now. Rather, we strive for our best lives later, which Jesus has gone ahead to prepare for us in heaven. Let that be your focus as we march forth in the book of Job. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And your giving to Groundworks Ministries transforms lives. Would you consider making a donation to Groundworks Ministries today? Because we need your monthly support now more than ever. Donating is secure and easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. Another way to help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries. Share these podcasts with your friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.